Alright guys, they promised you a flat earth debunking video, so here it is. You have no idea how hard it was for me to find a good video. Man, I must have watched at least 100 videos from like 15 different flat earth channels, but they usually have videos that are literally hours and hours long. I don't understand. Why is the flat earth YouTube community filled with 3-hour long videos? I just don't fucking understand. But nonetheless, here's a video where apparently the flat earth model is proven in 5 minutes. This is gonna be fun. I sure hope my video here gets flooded by flat earther dislikes. Apparently they have a reputation for being as aggressive as Muslims. Well, probably not that much. Anyway, let's roll.
Water, when unmanipulated, is to find its level. So whether you look at a cup of water, a bathtub, a swimming pool, a lake, or the ocean, it's flat. Of course, natural motion is not considered and doesn't equal a curve.
Okay, first of all, water finding its own level means that water will always even out. In other words, it will take the shape of its container. This is used for small-scale containers, such as a cup. Just because the water becomes flat in a scale so tiny compared to the entire Earth doesn't mean the Earth is flat. This is highly misleading for larger bodies, such as oceans, where the water will have a convex curve around the Earth. You just simply don't see this on a large enough scale to notice the curvature. The Earth is big as fuck. You can't just claim that the Earth appears to be flat just from the naked eye. Not to mention, there's a lot of science that revolves around the ball Earth model. For example, during war, battleships have to take into account the curvature of the Earth in order to more accurately calibrate their cannons. Lighthouses have to be tall in order to be spotted by ships. The list goes on. In fact, there's so much proof of the ball Earth that it deserves a video by itself.
We have 0 authentic pictures of the Earth and they're all composites, and NASA even admits that they Photoshop Earth images.
It is Photoshopped, but it's has to be.
What he means by Photoshop is enhancing the detail, such as color, to the point that it can be picked up by the human eye when viewing the image. There are many things that we cannot see just from the raw, unedited image. What they do is that they enhance the image so that we can see it better, and also to make it look more beautiful, not to forge a fake image to trick the public. Nice try taking the quote out of context.
On numerous occasions, NASA admits that we can't go beyond low Earth orbit, which is between 99 miles and 1,200 miles away. The interesting thing is that the moon is said to be 238,000 miles away, which is a difference of 236,800 miles.
Okay, first of all, how fucking dare you use miles? I'll fucking cut you, mate. Second, you're providing false information here. We are very capable of sending humans above the low Earth orbit. We just haven't done it, with the exception of the Apollo program. See, in 1969, we had motivation to go to the moon, for reasons I won't go into, but now nobody cares. No one is interested in going beyond the low Earth orbit. It would require an insane amount of money, in addition to no real purpose. There's no real revenue or new knowledge to be gained, and resources are difficult to acquire for such a mission. Besides, the low Earth orbit is a perfect place to place humans and satellites. Too low and the velocity needed to maintain orbit would be too great. Too high and we risk damage to electronic equipment due to radiation. It's just common sense not to venture above the low Earth orbit anymore. Until, of course, we decide to fly to Mars. Can't wait for that shit to happen.
No matter if you're on the ground, on top of a building, a mountain, a hot air balloon, an airplane, or looking at high-altitude amateur balloon footage, the horizon never fails to rise right to your eyes.
What? The distances are really long. You definitely won't be able to see anything significant until you are very high up. And to be at a point where the horizon would be below you, you'd have to be much higher than in an airplane, you bloody idiot. You know, sometimes I feel you guys simply just cannot imagine the size of the Earth. It's massive, alright? Here's a question for you. Explain why we are able to see more the higher we go. People on top of mountains can literally see much further than people at sea level. This is only explained by the curvature of the Earth, since far things disappear behind the curve. But on a flat Earth model, please explain to me how we can see further the higher we go.
Whether you are looking at Toronto's skyline from Niagara on the lake, 31 miles away, Chicago's skyline from Union Pier, 43 miles away, or even Oahu from Kauai, which is up to 108 miles away from center to center, or 73 miles away from the closest points, you will not see any curvature where it's supposed to be. According to the Pythagorean theorem, which states that the curvature of the Earth is 8 inches per mile squared, Oahu should not be visible whatsoever, but you can see the whole thing.
Okay, the 8 inches is only for the first mile. It's a little different after the first, but you probably know this already, so I won't get into much detail on this. Sure enough, you're right, almost. Theoretically, we shouldn't be able to see the buildings or mountains, and in normal circumstances, we don't. I want to point out two things. I will use the Chicago one as the primary example. Firstly, this can easily be explained by atmospheric refraction. For those of you who don't know, it's when the light curves due to the atmosphere. The science behind this is actually quite simple. When light enters from a medium of high index of refraction to a low one, the light will bend away from the normal. The specific type of refraction we are looking at today is the superior mirage. This can only form under very specific conditions, so these images that you took of Chicago are very rare. Here's how it works. As you move away from the Earth, the density of the air decreases, and when it decreases, the light will move away from the normal. In this case, it will bend towards the Earth. This is very slight though, but still enough to make a significant difference in our perception. What happens is that we are able to see significant portions of the building, but keep in mind that this phenomenon is actually quite rare since we would need colder air at the bottom and hotter air above, which is different than what it usually is. But of course, that doesn't mean this formation isn't stable, since the cold, dense air tends to stay below the hot air. The second thing I want to point out is that we can still see only the top parts of the building. If the Earth is indeed flat, we should also be able to see the base too. Why are there many things that are unable to be seen? Why are there buildings that are below the curvature or the ground? In a flat Earth model, this should not happen, so your examples here are self-defeating. Now, I know some flat earthers just outright reject the idea of atmospheric refraction. Isn't it convenient just to reject everything that goes against your flat Earth model? Like when NASA gave you a picture, it must be photoshopped. When scientists explain atmospheric refraction, it's simply not true. Stop it with your denials, it won't get you anywhere unless you can explain with evidence why our known models and laws of nature are incorrect. Like if you're so confident, give us some of your own laws and equations that would quantitatively explain the world. Oh wait, are any of you legit scientists? No? I'm just wasting my time here then?
In 1887, Albert Michelson and Edward Morley conducted what's known as the Michelson-Morley experiment. This experiment was attempting to prove the speculated motion of the Earth around the Sun, and when it failed, Albert Einstein was forced to form the theory of relativity to overcome this problem.
Wrong. The theory of relativity wasn't created in order to quote-unquote overcome this problem. The Michelson-Morley experiment initiated other experimentation which ultimately led to Einstein's theory of relativity. Their finding was huge. It allowed us to dump our flawed ether theories, which in case you guys don't know, it's the idea that there existed a medium in which gravity and electromagnetic waves propagated through. Basically, this is what happened. We discovered that light had wave-like properties, and from this we assumed it needed a medium to travel through since all other waves such as sound need one. It was hence proposed that the medium that allowed light to pass between the sun and the earth was invisible, and we called this the ether. The implication to this is that there therefore must be an absolute reference points of the universe. It was also commonly accepted that this ether was dragged along the orbit of the earth. And from this, we can somewhat deduce the pattern of what the light's movement would be, assuming that the Earth is in constant motion, of course. The Michelson-Morley experiment turned up negative, which allowed us to discard our previous ideas of ethers in favor of more accurate models of the universe, such as the theory of relativity. I won't go into the details of the experiment, but basically it found no evidence that this ether existed. It wasn't something that failed and was then covered up, it was something that allowed science to approach closer to the truth. And the reason the experiment had negative results was because there was no ether, not because the Earth didn't move. You piece of shit!
In fact, anytime mainstream science is faced with undesirable results, they create a workaround, which isn't real science at all.
No, that's not true. You're not a scientist, so I don't expect you to know how the scientific method works. But here's the taste. Each individual in the scientific community is independent. We don't usually work together. As soon as one person finds evidence that is contrary to what we already accepted, it would be revolutionary. That scientist would present the finding instantly and would win a Nobel Prize. All in all, the scientific community is honest, partly due to competition and independence. You can trust scientists.
The Sun is claimed to be 93 million miles away, with a radius of over 400,000 miles, but can easily be proven to be much closer and smaller by tracing the crepuscular rays back to its origin in the sky. If the Sun were indeed 93 million miles away, it would simply be impossible to have angled sun rays, as they should all consistently come in straight.
Crepuscular rays are parallel, you fucking idiot! This is actually such common knowledge, I can't believe you guys are still bringing this up. Okay, let me explain. Everything at a far distance will converge, and it's the same here, just like for railroad tracks. The convergence of rays is usually unable to be seen too clearly on a regular day. However, on a cloudy day where clouds will only let a bit of sunlight through, you can see this illusion more clearly. The sun is simply right here. Imagine taking the clouds out of the picture. That usually helps, but here's a better explanation. You are completely misleading the audience by drawing your stupid triangle. You are assuming that these crepuscular rays are in 2-dimension. Let's label this the z-axis and this the x-axis. In this case, you fail to consider the y-axis. We live in a 3-dimensional world after all. The sun has a very, very high y-axis value from here. It is beyond those mountains. It is very, very far away. And that's the point of the illusion, and you fell right into the trap, my friend. Nice try drawing a 2-dimensional triangle in order to take advantage of this illusion in order to promote your stupid propaganda. Well, let me show you something. This is an image of crepuscular rays from outer space, taken by an astronaut during a space mission. As you can see, crepuscular rays are parallel. It is only when we're on Earth that we see the illusion of the light converging to a nearby point. Man, do you even do your research before spewing out this shit?
According to the globular theory, a lunar eclipse occurs when the sun, earth, and moon are in a direct line. But it is on record that since about the 15th century, over 50 eclipses have occurred while both the sun and moon are visible above the horizon. F.H. Cook, The Terrestrial Plane.
Again, this is due to atmospheric refraction. You know when you look up at the sun, it's not actually there, right? Our atmosphere makes the sun appear higher than it actually is. The same logic can be applied to the moon. Due to this illusion, on some places, and only these places, you can spot both the sun and the moon during an eclipse for only a few minutes. Not to mention that this phenomenon is extremely rare. You fucking piece of shit trying to present this false information? Nice try.
It's a common misconception that the shadow of the Earth causes moon phases. Even the pastors and priests of the science religion readily admit this fact.
That's great. No one is claiming that the shadows on the moon are caused by Earth. No, but it still does prove around Earth, and the moon of course. Take a look at this image. We wouldn't be able to see the moon go through all the lunar phases if it weren't for the orbit of the moon and the sunlight shining onto a spherical object. Stop strawmanning and give me a real argument. Also, I have to mention that this isn't proof for flat Earth. What you are trying to do is disprove the ball Earth, which in no way supports your flat Earth idea. Even if you prove that the Earth isn't spherical, that doesn't mean it's automatically proven to be flat. It's time someone taught you flat earthers something called the burden of proof.
The interesting thing about moon phases is that they are always the exact same 8 phases repeated. But if we were circling around the sun, these 8 phases would inevitably be reversed from the summer to winter seasons.
What the fuck are you saying here? I don't understand. How did you even reach that conclusion? Moon phase reversing? I'm done. I can't put my head so far up my ass. If any of my viewers can explain to me how the fuck he got to this conclusion of the moon phase reversing, please tell me in the comment section. I feel like I'm missing something here. Fuck it, let's go on.
I completely understand that the idea of a flattened stationary Earth seems ridiculous in many ways.
Maybe because it is.
But that's only because we are taught the false globe model from the very first time that we enter a school classroom.
Okay, there's nothing else in this video that's interesting. He just goes on about how he himself did scientific research and shit to get to his flat earth conclusion. Stupid flat earth children thinking they got a case here.